harvest of your righteousness. So you see here that there is actually a righteous part of financial information, right? Finances do play into your righteousness. And if you remember from our almsgiving course, whenever you give alms, or whenever you give to the poor, essentially, you're displaying God's righteousness in that moment, okay? And so it's impossible for you to give money to the poor if you don't have money to give to the poor. So the more money you make, the more money you can give, and in turn, your righteousness will increase. That's exactly what it says. And the increase of the harvest of your righteousness. Okay? So, the whole purpose of making an abundance of money, a lot of money, the whole purpose is the abundance is supposed to go to people who need it, because you no longer need it, right? Because all that you have is being taken care of, right? You're blessed to be a blessing, 100%, 100%. So that is, I had a lot more there, but just for the sake of time, we're going to skip all of that, right? We're going to go down. There's a slide that says final question. If God doubled your income next year, would your lifestyle increase more than your generosity, more than your investing, more than your kingdom impact, right? Because it's okay to spend. It is. But make sure your spending is in proportion to everything else. And we're going to cover that in the budgeting today. Because it's okay to spend money. In fact, I got a whole verse on it whenever we go over the budgets, right? It is 100% okay to spend money that you make, right? But you got to make sure you're not doing that out of proportion with everything else you're supposed to be doing with your money, okay? So, key takeaways from everything we went over. God's financial plan is not to get rich quick. God's financial plan is to start with wisdom, then that leads to understanding, then that leads to knowledge, knowledge then leads to stewardship, stewardship leads to multiplication, and then multiplication then leads to generosity, right? Okay? So, setting up the budget. Now, I stole this budget, most of it, at least 90% of this, was stolen from Myron Golden's. He has a teaching in one of his books called I Can If My Cans Say I Can. Each one of his cans is just a percentage of his budget, right? So he can do something if his budget is set up to do a thing, right? So I can if my cans say I can, right? So can I go out to eat to dinner with you if you invite me? Well, I have 10% set aside for food. I still have money in that budget. Yeah, I can, right? So I can if my cans say I can. That's his whole little teaching thing. I loved it, and he's a very wealthy man, so learn from the wise, right? Learn from the wise. So with that, this is how he has his broken up for the most part. For the most part, there was one thing that I think could be taken away, and we'll cover what that is towards the end. So this is his budget. This is how he budgets his life. I went ahead and found some scriptures to justify why those percentages are what those percentages are. But this is the budget that we are going to replicate. And this is the budget that we are going to strive to complete. Currently, even in my own life, I am not following this budget 100%, right? But as I'm using this budget to get more in line with this budget, it's lining up with what's on the board right now, right? Because right now you'll see, and we'll get there, but right now the pay bills is 50%. And that includes all of them. That's gas, food, water, house, all of your car, your phone, your internet. All the bills should only make up 50% of your income at most, right? Right now, my bills make up about 73% of my income, right? They used to make up more, okay? And so as I've been budgeting my life, you're slowly lining up with it, okay? But this is the ideal to get to, okay? So tithe, obviously, 10%. There's two scriptures up there. We're not going to go to them. There's only two scriptures on here that we're going to go to because they weren't covered previously in the lessons, okay? So tithe, Malachi 3:10 and 2 Corinthians 9:7. Obviously, I say obviously, to us it's obvious. The tithe was an Old Testament expectation, right? The 10% was an Old Testament expectation. The new expectation for believers is give what you feel in your heart from 2 Corinthians. The 10% should be the minimum, honestly, right? 10% should be the minimum. If it was set in the Old Testament for what to give, and that was 10%, that should be the floor, right? That should not be your maximum. 10% should not be your max. 10% should be the floor, okay? So you can always give more than the 10%, but 10% should be the smallest amount you give. So that's tithe. That's number one. That comes straight off the top, right? And like I said, I started giving my tithe as soon as I get paid, right? I don't wait for Sunday. That might not be everybody's thing, but I don't wait for Sunday anymore. I know how to give online. As soon as I get paid, I give 10%, right? Just instantly. It's just become a habit. It's become a habit. And then pay bills is 50%. We're going to look at 1 Timothy 5:8. 1 Timothy 5:8. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Okay? So that includes housing, utility, transportation, insurance, your food. All the other necessities should fit within this 50%. Okay? And then financially free, if you can go back to the budget slide, please. Financially free, 10%. We're not going to turn to that one. That's just the Proverbs verse there is your slave to the lender, right? We covered that on last week's. But financially free, 10%. Now, with financially free, that can either be investing 10% or additionally paying off debts you have with 10% of your income. It depends on what makes you more money, okay? There's some debts that paying it off quicker will make you more money in the long run. There's other debts that if I make this additional payment, it's actually going to make me less money than if I take that 10% and put it into the market, okay? So each debt is weighed a little bit differently. So I didn't want to have it specifically like an extra 10% paying off your debts, and then after your debts are paid, then start investing. I just called it financially free, and each person's situation might be a little different. In fact, even one person might have 5 different loans, and one of those loans needs to be paid off as soon as possible, and the other 4 can just be paid off with whatever payment plan is already structured, right? As we get to the app, there's actually a whole section that will teach you and show you which decision you should make on each loan you have set up, because it'll tell you the total payoff on this loan amount versus how much you would make in the same year if you were to put that into the market. Okay, so it'll tell you. It'll tell you. So don't worry about it. And then 10% savings, right? We're not going to look at that verse because that verse was part of the lesson plans the last couple weeks. But Proverbs 21:20, make sure you are saving. Again, as we're going through the lesson plan, the maximum you should save ever is only 20%, and that is specifically if God has told you a famine is coming, right? 20% will get you through. Put back 1/5 part is what he told, right? That's 20%. Generally, you only really need to put back 10%. And even then, you don't need to keep saving to keep saving. Once you have enough in your savings to last you as long as you think you need to be comfortable, you don't really need to save anymore. You can just use your investments to grow your capital. And then if you really need to, you can pull out of your investments to cover what you need to cover. But if you are a good steward of what God has given you, you should be building your life to where your emergencies aren't really emergencies anymore, right? But she had her hand, and then I got your hand.
Don't they say that you should have at least 6 months of savings in
That's
case you get sick and, to pay bills and all that good stuff?
Yeah, that's what a lot of the financial gurus are preaching right now. Is you want at least 3 months to 6 months saved up of your normal income to be good. Again, if you have good enough health insurance nowadays, honestly, I think you're fine. If you have good enough life insurance, I forgot exactly what I think it's term life. There's this particular type of term life you can actually pull out of before you die. If you have enough of that set up, you really don't even need savings anymore. Well, ideally, your bills will be 100% gone by the time you actually do what this budget teaches us to do, right? Currently, you want your bills to be 50%. Eventually, you want your bills to be next to zero, right? You want to own what you own, ideally, right? And the way that God's showing me how to steward properly, that means like all of it. Like to be able to be 100% independent for, setting up your own ISP so I don't have to pay for internet. Setting up your own rain collection system with a metal roof and, certain pumping systems so you don't have to pay for water. A yeah, yeah, to be 100% debt free and bill free, right? So ideally, yeah, save up now as we're still in the system, but ideally you want to really get off the system because there is a day coming, it's written in Revelations, where a believer cannot buy or sell. That means you can't buy electricity one day. That means you won't be able to buy water one day. So you need to make sure you're setting yourself up to where you don't have to buy those things, right? But I see your hand. Right. Yeah, because eventually the grid is going to be owned by the beast, right? And to be part of the grid, you're going to have to be part of the beast. And that's a decision that's already been made for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be part of the beast system. So I need to start setting up God's system in my own life now, right? To be a good steward of it. Even if the end doesn't come in my lifetime, I want to make sure that my descendants don't have to start from scratch, right? So and then 10% for having fun slash free spending. Okay. Now this is the part where most believers usually feel a little divided, right? They're like, oh well, if I spend this, then I don't get to give this one or this part to the poor, or oh I could have given more to the poor and all this stuff. But again, it's a percentage based thing, right? So Elon Musk's 10% looks a whole lot different than my 10%. Okay, so that's the other thing to where it's like, don't be surprised whenever Ree and I end up getting a lot of land and a nice little mansion, right? Because that'll be the 10%. Okay, but also don't get it twisted. We're going to be giving and giving and giving and giving, right? But also don't get it twisted that Jesus said the poor will always be amongst you, always. You could give 100%, and it's not going to change the fact that the poor will always be there. Okay, so Ecclesiastes 5:18 through 19. We didn't cover this in the lesson, so this is one of the verses we're going to cover right quick. It says, "Here is what I have seen to be good." Ecclesiastes was written by Solomon, right, the wisest, wealthiest man of all time. "Here is what I have seen to be good and fitting: to eat, to drink, and enjoy oneself in all one's labor, in which he toils under the sun, during the few years of life which God had given him. For this is his reward. Furthermore, as for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, he has also empowered him to eat from them and to receive his reward and rejoice in his labor, for this is the gift of God." Okay? So it's completely okay to use your money that you make. I say your money, to use the money that God has given you, right, through the talents that he's also given you, that you still have to, you still have to develop those talents, right? But it's okay to use that money for things that you enjoy. Okay, you just got to make sure that percentage-wise, it's not the main thing that you spend your money on. Okay, but with the budgeting and everything else, 10% of just free spending. Don't have to check an account. Don't have to, check, make sure that we got everything covered. 10% of just freely spend on yourself. Again, this is one of Myron Golden's techniques on budgeting, and he is a very wealthy, very generous man, right? Like he has a couple of what's the word? Not a fundraiser. The charity, yes, thank you. He has a couple of charities set up, right? So he's a very generous man. He's a very generous man, but he still spends his 10% that he makes. But that's the other thing too. Now he's making so much money, his 10% has turned into like 40,000 a month. He's like, you know how hard it is to spend $40,000 a month? And one of his other teachings is that you want to make sure you spend that 10% every single month, because it's one of the things that will motivate you to actually pursue more money. Okay, he used to want to make sure that he went out and golfed every month at all these nice resorts, because that was like his thing he liked to do. But he's like, at a certain point, that was only like a very small percentage of my 10%. So I have to like find more things to spend my money on, right? What a crazy problem to have, What a crazy problem to have. So, yeah. Okay, so if you're good at math, you might have noticed that those percentages on the board do not equal up to 100%. It equals up to 90%, okay? And that is where I differ a little bit from Myron Golden. He has another category up there that I'm like, I don't think that fits everybody. Flora, if you can go to the last slide really fast. The last 10%, I think you should decide what you want to spend that last 10% on, right? You can either educate yourself, you can invest in your business, you can invest in your health, which is an HSA account, you can invest in your children's education fund, you can give, this is where you can give above your tithe, or you can support missions, helping the needy, whatever you feel in your heart to do with the last 10%, do that, right? And you don't even have to do one of them, you can do two of them or three of them, right? But that's where we differed a little bit. He had a definitive thing to do, and I'm like, I feel like that doesn't fit everybody, right? It really doesn't. So that's the budget. That is the ideal budget that we want to follow and maintain. I see your hand.
Also, I was going to say some of this stuff, just to let you guys know, a lot of this stuff is free. Like to educate yourself, invest in your business. A lot of this stuff is on YouTube. Like it's free. Like so, it's a lot of stuff that you may not even have to pay for. Like you can pretty much learn anything on YouTube or any social media as well.
That is true. The wealthiest return, though, is usually in a financial investment. Usually, there are free things. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of free, and definitely start with the free stuff. Okay, but to get to that next level, you do need to actually invest financially into yourself, whether that be like a course that you didn't really think you needed. And sometimes, truth be told, it might just be getting in the room with certain individuals. Like sometimes you don't what you don't know is out there. You might not know is out there unless you pay for a particular course to get into it. Okay, because even going through God's plan for it, the plan starts with wisdom. Wisdom requires a certain level of attention. So if you don't have attention in a specific spot, you're never going to know that even exists, right? There's certain markets that you don't know are even out there because you're not around the people who are in those markets, right? But yeah.
I would say even something simple as different fundraiser dinners because they help you be in the room to be able to network. So being able to pay that $700 for this plate, but the information and the contacts you can make during that dinner makes it worth it.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. So, okay, baby, thank you. Your headphones are up here, baby. Sorry about that. So with that, over the last week, I developed an app, a budgeting app, because I did not like the ones that were out there. Well, I like the ones that are out there, but they cost money. I spend $20 a month on Claude. I spend $20 a month on Claude, and so Claude and I were able to develop an app. So there should be a QR code. Go ahead and scan that on your phones, please. If you need help scanning the QR code, please raise your hand. Yeah. All right. Please, please, please. And then if you're watching on YouTube, this is 100% free. It will always be 100% free. I even put that into the app. If anyone ever charges you for this, please contact somebody. This will never cost money, ever. And I put a lot of work into this app, so I think there's a lot of value that someone could, because it pretty much copied all of the other apps and then some that are behind like monthly paywalls and stuff, and I didn't agree with it. So once you're on the website, which does take you to a website, it is a web-based app. Again, I'm not about to spend money to put it on the iTunes App Store. To put something on the Google Play Store is free, but I want to make sure that everyone can actually use it. So to get around that, it is a web-based app that you are still able to install and have like an actual app on your phone instead of having to go to the website every time. Okay. So whenever you pull it up and open it, which floor could we do the follow along? Okay. At the top of your screen, there should be an install button. Yeah, it is a little small, but there should be an install to your browser menu little icon. I'm sorry? Oh, you're good. So on iPhone, you want if you're using an iPhone, the iPhone instructions will be there. If you're using an Android, the Android instructions will be there. That is it. Yes, that's. So it says tap. If you're on iPhone, tap the share button at the bottom of Safari, which is right here, and then share, and then you want to scroll down. Oops. You want to scroll down and tap add to the home screen, and then tap add. Yes. If you don't have an install button, then you're going to have to go through the settings, and then in the actual app itself, once you're through the welcome screens, there'll be another install button that'll automatically do it for you. So then you go to view more, add to home screen, and then so oh, no, you don't need password. So there you go. Now you got the app. Okay. Yep, that's the app right there. The app icon is just like a pie chart with different percentages in there. Yeah. So you're gonna. Where's my needs?
There's the wisdom coming out of it.
Is this an iPhone or an Android?
iPhone.
Where's
17 Pro Max.
Where's your share button? Oh, it's right there. Okay. More. Add to home screen. So now it's right there. There you go. Does anyone else need help getting it installed to your home screen? Oops. Okay, now it's right there. Which, by the way, if you didn't know you could do that, you could actually technically add an app for any website you frequent often. So you don't have to like go to Safari every time. If you didn't know that, yeah. Oh, if you, okay, yeah. Does anyone else need help getting it added? What's up? Hmm? Oh, I'll show you guys how to share this with other people who are not here yet. There's a whole page in the app once we get through the welcome screens. It's where you can actually share it out. It'll have a QR code on the app, so you can just share it to whoever. Anybody else not have it installed yet? Okay, okay, you're good. Samsung actually should be a whole lot easier. Okay, yeah. Samsung's got it covered. You just hit the top button and it just does all the work. iPhone's the manual one. Is it what? It's just English. It's just English. I only had a week. Yeah. But once you have it installed, there will be updates and stuff because I'm using this thing as well. And so if there's anything that I'm like, I wish it would do this, then I build it, you know. So there will be updates and whatnot. Is everyone good? All right. So now, you got it? You got it? Okay, good. All right, so now you're gonna hit the button that says Build My Budget. People working ahead over here. I'm gonna go back here and do it on the computer, just so everyone can get the visual. Once you hit Build My Budget, you should see a screen that says enter your name, and then the household name if you wanted. Yes. Yes, it will. One of the reasons, oh, this is not like me. I can't do it back here, unfortunately. It doesn't let me type. One of the whole things about this app, I personally don't like my information being shared with anything. So everything that you put in here is stored 100% just on your device. It doesn't go to any type of cloud, doesn't go to any type of server. I can't see it even, like there's no back end to it. 100% of it is just on your phone, encrypted on your phone, right? So with that, no. One phone is going to be one phone, and there is a way to download what you've done and then upload what you've done. It is password protected. So if you wanted to do that every day, you could, but whatever you do on one phone will not transfer over to the other. And I did that on purpose. I have an Android, so it's going to be built more for Android, but I also tested it on Rihanna's iPad, and it looked a little cleaner on the iPad, so it's up to you. Honestly, it's up to you. So on this page, you'll just type in your name and your family's name. If you wanted to, the household family is just an option. It's just optional, it doesn't really matter. And then you hit continue, if you have not already, if you're working ahead. Is everyone on the what comes in screen? Okay, yep. So on here, the first box is where you type in whatever this income stream is, right? So you can type in the name of your company that you work for, or just job, or work, or whatever you want to call it so you can find it later. And then you want to type in how much your take home is off of your check. Don't do the net. No, yeah, I'm sorry, don't do the gross, do the net. I don't care how much your taxes are, right? We're not going to be, budgeting by how much we put in on taxes, right? We're only budgeting on how much actually hits our hand, and in the frequency in which it hits our hand, okay? Yes. So there's quite a bit of AI analytics going on in the background as you're filling this in. Again, it's all on the phone. Don't worry, nothing gets transmitted out. So if you, on average, make like 1,500 every 2 weeks or whatever, it will, as we input our expenses, because what you do is on your banking app, we'll get there. What you do is on your banking app, you download whatever your transaction is, upload that, it'll analyze it, fill in your budget, expenses, and income automatically. And so if you put 1,500 average, the app will finally, as you update it and update it, it'll be like, okay, so she makes around this much every 2 weeks. Yeah, just start with that amount. And then, so you do that, and then the third drop down is how often. So either every 2 weeks, every week, twice a month, once a month type of thing. So, so this first initial setup screen, I guess, is thank you. That is a bug. Um, so let's go through all the way through the initial setup screen, and then hop out of the app and grab whatever else is needed. What's up? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Good. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nice. Not a bug. Human error. Okay. Yep. Does everyone have their? Oh, I'm sorry. And then the fourth one is you just want to select the next time you're expected to get paid. So if you get paid every 2 weeks, and you got paid this last Friday, then you would just select the date of next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, if you get paid on Fridays. Is anyone still on their income? Okay. Mhm. So it'll analyze what your income is. This is just kind of a what should we be expecting whenever you upload your documents type of thing. All right. Is anyone still on the income? And again, we can always fill out additional income information um, later. Yeah, everything in the setup screen is you can always go back to it and change whatever you need to after you got it set up. So after you do add this income, oops, I forgot to follow along just so I can go to the next screen. Okay, then you hit continue, and then this is going to be the bills page. For the sake of time and to show you everything that the app has to offer, let's go ahead and just add one bill together. And then you guys can go back in and add all your other bills at some point today. So again, at the top of the screen, you just hit whatever you want to fill out for right now. The example that I'm going to be doing is rent or mortgage. So you just hit it, then you type in how much it is, how often it's due, if it's due every month, every week, every 2 weeks, once a year, however often it's due. And then you want to do on what day of the month that it's due. And then the type should automatically be selected based on the buttons that you selected along the top. But if it's not, just make sure that the type is also correct. And then there is a little checkbox that says this is on auto pay. If it is on auto pay, go ahead and click it. If it's not an auto pay bill, do not click it. One of the app's features is that if you have bills that are not on auto pay, you'll get a little notification being like, hey, your car insurance is due on the 16th. Did you pay it? Because there's been a couple times where I have the money to pay a bill, I just forget to pay the bill, right? So I built that in for my own sake, my own sanity. Has everyone added at least one bill? Okay, cool. And then go ahead and hit continue. And then this screen says, what direction do you want your life to go? So this is going to be the last 10% that we covered. So you can select one item, you can select multiple items. Just what here do you feel like you want to be investing the last 10% towards? What? Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's That's where mine was whenever I first started budgeting as well. And I was like, oh, I gotta get this lower. I gotta get this way lower. Yeah, see? And that's why it feels like we're all living paycheck to paycheck because we don't actually know what we're spending our money on, right? And even if you know what you're spending your money on, you don't really know what you're spending your money on whenever you look at it like this, right? So, has everyone picked at least one or two items on your last 10%? Or I guess really just one. Yep. Yep. So once you select your last 10%, hit continue. And then there should be a screen that just outlines what your budget looks like in this current moment. Again, we only put in like one or two bills just for the sake of time. And then hit start using this budget. So then this is where the app actually opens up. You are no longer in the quote unquote welcome stage. You're now a user of the app. So on the app screen that it opens up to is going to be your home page. Okay. This is where you can see an overview of just all of your bills, all the buckets that you have, how much you spent in each bucket for the month. Towards the top of the screen, you'll see an Analyze My Statements button. You can click it if you want to right now. That will take you to the Analyze screen. And what you want to do is, well, first of all, if you have not installed this app yet, whenever you hit Analyze, it'll take you to a screen that'll kind of like force itself to be installed if your web browser was kind of a little janky. So then if you have not installed it yet, a little button will show up that says ready to install, and you can install it there. If you've already installed it, then it should say something like you're already installed or something. So what you want to do on your banking app is you'll want to go to your transactions screen, wherever it's stored, and you'll want to download your transactions for as long of a time period as your banking app allows you to do a span of. So what I was able to do, I was able to get a download of the last 2 years off my banking app. So then you just download it. You can either do a PDF, which I don't recommend because the analysis on a PDF is a little wonky. It's not great, you know, for an AI that runs only on your phone's hardware. It wasn't great. I recommend downloading either the CSV, comma separated values, either a CSV file, or downloading the, I'll have to look at it. I forgot what it's called. It starts with an R. I forgot what it's called. But downloading either of those things and then uploading those to the app. Okay, and again, everything is stored 100% on your phone. And it is encrypted on your phone as well. It's not like any other app can just go in there and see any of this information. It's 100% encrypted. So whenever you do Analyze My Statements, you can choose a file from your phone that you've downloaded. Again, for the sake of time, unfortunately, we won't be able to cover this on the actual steps. We could probably, if anyone has trouble doing this on your, I did make the app pretty user intuitive and user friendly. If anyone has trouble using it, then we can finish up next week as well before we get into investing. But just for the sake of time, I recommend everyone kind of like play around with the app, figure out all of your documents, get your documents uploaded. There's, just to go over the screens really fast, the home screen shows you everything that you've got going on. The calendar screen, as you upload your bills and upload your receipts and things and your bank statements, it'll show you days where you were net positive, days you were net negative. It'll also do an analysis and be like, oh, well, you spend a lot of money on Tuesdays for some reason, right? So if you need to cut back on your spending, you might need to figure out, what am I doing on Tuesdays that cost me so much money, and can I work around that, right? And then the third screen is your budgeting screen. This shows you a analysis on your overall spending, kind of like what PK said earlier, just on what he's uploaded so far. The analysis told him that his bills are 70-something%. So there'll be an analysis at the top. It'll also show your upcoming bills if you have that stuff filled out. It'll show you where you've overspent in certain areas for the month, or where you've historically overspent as you upload your statements and everything. The fourth page is the loans page. Go ahead and also get all of your loan information and add all of your loan information, one thing on the financially free portion, the 10% for the financially free, this is where it'll do an analysis, right? So on my car note, we still owe like $13,000, and our monthly payment is $290 with a 11.55% APR. With all of those numbers, on my pay an extra 10% for financially free, if I was to do that towards the payment, I would only end up saving about $2,000 off of the loan. But the loan length, I have about 5 years left. If I take that same 10% over the next 5 years and I invest that into the S&P 500, then the app will tell you that, on average, based on the S&P 500's historical data, you actually would have made about $8,000 in the next 5 years if I just invest that into the S&P 500 instead. Okay, so it'll show you I can either invest it and make 8,000, or I can pay off the balance quicker and save 2,000. So it'll tell you, should I actually pay off this loan or should I invest more, right? So that's the loan screen is what's going to tell you on that 10% for financially free, should I invest this 10% or should I pay off my loans with this extra 10%? Okay. Mm-hmm. No, one thing that I built in, because one of the other apps that I was using didn't have this built in. I'm like, why? One of the things that I built in is it never looks at the same thing twice. It'll never charge the same thing twice. Even so, I have a couple of different accounts, and sometimes I transfer money between the accounts. Whenever it sees that on my statements, it's like, oh, $100 from this account went to this account. It doesn't, oh, you spent $100 here. And it doesn't say, oh, you made $100. It knows that it was a transfer, and it marks it as a transfer, and then it doesn't do anything, right? So if you have a loan set up for your car note in the loans screen, and you have a loan payment in the bills screen, it'll be like, okay, this loan is just for this bill. I'm not going to charge you twice for this loan type of thing. But I do recommend setting up the loan screen as well as the bill screen for all of your actual loans. Because there's analysis, there's AI analysis being done on both sides for different reasons, right? The bill screen analysis is showing you where your money is currently going, and then the loan screen analysis is showing you where your money could be going to help you either make money or save money, okay? And then there's the activity screen. Yeah, yep, go ahead. That is on the next release because I wanted that added because the way that it unfortunately for my Capital One, which I have to look on the website to see if I'm able to do it, on the Capital One app I can't download CSVs or any type of statement stuff, and so the PDF that I uploaded was honestly the app was kind of garbage at interpreting it. So there is the next release is going to be able to where I can add manually just one item at a time. The next release will also have the ability to, let's say you're like out at lunch or you just bought something, you'll be able to just like take a picture of the receipt, say what account that you paid it out of, and then it'll just log that automatically for you instead of you having to wait until you upload your app statements or your bank app statements, right? It'll be more of an instant thing. I am currently working on to see if it can just infer the data from your banking apps that you have on your phone automatically. That is the next step. There is a little bit of, not wonkiness, but the fact that I want it to be 100% off the cloud, 100%, no one can have access to my data type of thing. There is a way to allow 2 apps on your phone to talk without going to any external network. But to do that requires certain setups in each banking app. And so my developer, Claude, is currently working through some back testing, trying to figure out exactly how to get that to happen while still making it 100% encrypted and 100% off the cloud free type of thing. So eventually, the plan is, because I'm a fan of ease of use, right? The plan is eventually not needing to upload any of my documents. It just knows automatically from my banking apps that I've given it permission to use to just pull in my spending from each one. So that is the plan. So hopefully, I'm able to release that version as well. Yes. To do that, the app would need certain permissions, like the Solomon's Budget app would need certain permissions on your phone. And I'm also the type to, if I download an app and it starts asking for permissions, I deny them all. And so since I'm the type to do that, I wanted to develop an app that doesn't ask for a whole lot of permissions, right? And so with that, just out of like the good Samaritan type of mindset, I don't want to produce an app that'll be like, let me watch your phone screen, right? Because that's what it would do. It would have to analyze your whole phone screen, which at that point, I feel like that's a little, yeah, just a little invasive for myself. Even though I know that it's 100% off the cloud and everything, I want this to be a widespread thing. I want it to be 100% free always, right? And with that, I don't want anyone to be like, oh, well, I liked it except for the fact that I had to give over the fact to read my screen at any time type of thing, you know? But that is a good idea. That is a good idea. Just not for this app. So there was one more thing. What was it? Oh, yeah. So inside of the More screen, there's going to be under the Your Budget section, there is income, bills, accounts, and goals. If you need to add anything additional to your income or to your bills, you would do so there. You would just click whatever title it is and then go and add to it. With that, on the accounts screen, what I recommend doing is going through and adding each one of your bank accounts to it. That way, whenever it analyzes your statements, it knows what account paid for this, right? Because like I said, I have a couple different accounts. I recommend everyone have a couple different accounts. And so there's certain accounts that every time I get paid, it goes to a certain account, and then I don't even look at that account because that account auto pays my mortgage and my car notes. I think the three most important bills in my life because I don't want any of those things being repossessed, right? So I don't even look at that money. Like I don't even pretend like I have that money, right? So it goes to that account, and then that account auto pays out. But that money still needs to be seen by the app to know the total percentages of everything going on in my life, right? Because otherwise, it looks like I'm making $1,000 less every 2 weeks than I'm actually making, right? And so it makes the percentages wonky. So I recommend going in and adding your accounts. Through the accounts, there's also a section to add your card information. And also, it only asks for the last 4 of every account. There's no reason for the app to have your whole account number. It just needs to be like a visual thing so you know, is it this account or that account? It only asks for the last 4. Again, everything's stored within the app. But just for that, I don't like my data being shared out there. I don't want other people to have that same fear as well, type of thing. Not fear per se, but I just don't like it. You know, the world is data hungry, and I don't want to give it any reason to take my data, right? Through the More screen as well, if you scroll down, there is an app lock section. So you can lock the app or choose to lock the app with either your fingerprint or Face ID or a PIN that you set up. There is also a encryption. So it encrypts itself automatically every time you close the app. But while the app is open, just for the app to function, quote unquote, function properly, it cannot encrypt itself as it's working. If you want it to encrypt itself while it's working, you can turn that feature on in this setting right here. To do so, though, you cannot encrypt an app that uses Face ID or a thumbprint. So if you do encrypt the app to choose that option, it will force it to be a PIN lock screen instead of your thumbprint. Also, since none of this data is stored anywhere, and I mean anywhere, if you forget your PIN, you will have to start all the way over and delete the whole app. Because again, your PIN is not stored anywhere except in your brain. And I built that on purpose, so just let it be known. If you forget your PIN, you'll have to start all the way over. which should be fine because the ease in which it'll take to get into this eventually will just be share some features from your other banking apps, and then it'll analyze everything for you, hopefully. Right now it is still like a manual thing. Scrolling on down a little bit, there is a backup and restore option on the app. This, again, is if you like transfer phones or you're getting a new phone. Since everything is stored on the phone, there needs to be a way to transfer that to another phone of your choice. That is what that option is. It'll download an encrypted file of everything in your app at that moment, and then you need to set a password for that data. You then email yourself that data, transfer it to a thumb drive, however you want to get that data to your other phone. On your other phone, you go back to the website, and then on your new version, you just scroll to the bottom. Instead of typing in your name, you scroll to the bottom, say restore from backup, hit that button, find your file on your phone, type in your password, and then it will import everything from your last app's stuff. So you can either do that every time you want to transfer phones or use one phone or the other. It's just kind of a manual thing. And again, I did that on purpose because I don't want my data going anywhere. Bless you. Right below that is a share with friends button. So you can click the show a QR code and let anyone who was not here this morning see that QR code so that they can also get the app. And then right below that is the danger zone where you can delete all your data. If you no longer want the app or want to use the app, I do recommend deleting your data and then deleting the app. I don't recommend just deleting the app. And then at the very, very bottom on the About screen, you can click into there, and that's where you can change your name or your household name. I need to get rid of that feature. That is useless. To shift the app down was just for development. And then everything else is just an About screen. I put that in there to kind of save myself. I didn't want anyone grabbing this app, ripping this app, throwing this app up on the App Store behind a paywall. That's why this screen exists. And inside the code, it's almost impossible to get rid of this screen. Because if you pay for this app, I want you to let me know, because this app is supposed to be 100% free, always and forever, and just share it with whoever you want to, okay? And also, your data should be your data, not anyone else's data. And so if someone else has this behind a paywall, chances are they're also mining your data at the same time. So anyway, I recommend over the next week, you guys just kind of get comfortable with the app, figure out, if you have any questions, just let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. As I update the app, there should be a little inside that About one at the bottom, right below Solomon's budget, there is an Updates button where you can click Check for Updates. The plan is to where if there is a new version posted, the app will know that a new version has been posted, and it'll let you know that there's an update available. However, with an app that works 100% offline, that feature may or may not work on everyone's phone. So I just recommend just clicking that Check for Update button. That is the one and only time I've given the app permission to go off of the app to any website to try and find data. So anyway, with that being said, is there any questions? We've talked well into our prayer time. Yes, Flora. Honestly, for that 10% that you're going to save, if you're going to save it, yes, throw it into a high yields saving account. Throw it into, I'm not going to suggest any type of account. Do your own research, please. I'm not a financial advisor. But make sure whatever high yield savings account you use, make sure you can access your money penalty free. There are a couple of high yield savings accounts that do not allow you to access your money without a potential fee, or they don't allow you to access your money within a certain amount of period of time. Like you have to request, like, hey, I need $1,000, and they don't let you use that for like a week. Well, I needed that $1,000 today, right? It's an emergency, right? So, and I'm not gonna pay a fee to use my money now. So, as you're doing your research on which high yield savings account you want to use, just make sure there's no fees, hidden fees attached. Everyone should have access to AI nowadays. Download, and I mean download or copy and paste the entire terms of conditions, throw it into an AI analyst, and ask, is there anything that I need to be fearful of or worried about or need to be privy to on this term and condition, right? Make sure you're not getting blinded by the fine print, especially in today's age where AI is free, right? So yeah, any other questions really fast before we transition out of discipleship into service? Questions. Nice. Okay. So next week, and I'll be working on the app a little bit because I really don't like having to manually do anything. I'll be honest, right? So within the next week, I'll let you guys know. I'll post it on the group me to go update your app with a newer version. If I'm able to figure out how to get it to pull in from your bank apps automatically. Okay. If not, unfortunately, right now you're gonna have to go to a file, download it, or go to the bank app, download it, upload it. With the uploading, I know we didn't cover it. Whenever you upload, it will ask you, if you do a CSV, it'll ask you what column is what. So it'll ask what the date column is. It'll ask you what the money in column is, and it'll ask what the money out column is on the CSV. There'll be a little drop down, so it's not like you have to like type anything in. You'll just click like the date one, you'll click it, and then out of the options of the column headers that you uploaded, it'll be like, oh, the date says date, or the date might say date range or something. It should be as user intuitive as possible, honestly. But if you have any questions, just let me know. All right. So, any comments, questions, anything? Cool. Okay. All right. With that, we're gonna pray. And then I'm going to pray out of discipleship class, and then we'll have somebody pray into service. So, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning. We thank you for Holy Spirit. We thank you for your power and your wisdom. Father, I thank you that you've given us the power to create wealth, Father. So I thank you that we are learning how to be good stewards of the seeds that you've given us. And I thank you, Father, you're going to show us where to plant these seeds properly. And I thank you that it's unto you to cause the harvest to multiply, Father. So I thank you that it's no work of our own, Father, that causes us to multiply and to be a blessing, but it's your will and your purpose through us, Father, that we're able to show your generosity